listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right. Let's do it. Better. Let's do it. Ready? Yep. So this Bally still? What? Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. There's no human being I'd rather talk to right now than Nick Green. Fact. Don't lie. No, it's like, well, there was some debate, but then you showed up with the Baseballs and Boring t-shirt. And let me just tell you, your triceps have never looked better, Nick. That's a good point. That's why I like to wear it. It's you science. picked a nice fitting shirt. It is. It's science. And you believe in the message sometimes. That is true. How's things going, man? Like, before we dive into the Braves, it's like more importantly, for you, every year is an evolution of your career, and doing Bally stuff, and you're dominating. And I think there's nobody better in the business at breaking it all down. So how's it going for you this year? How do you feel about things? Yeah, it's good, man. I'm just happy that I get to work. And I tell my wife this all the time. I'm just I don't want to do anything else. So I love baseball. It doesn't matter how tough the season is. It doesn't matter how challenging work is. I just enjoy talking about baseball and enjoy being around the game. And this year I've gotten to, I think I have 35 hosting dates for pre and post. So they pushed me a little bit there. So that's fun. It's like an adrenaline rush. So you get to carry the show a little bit with me and Peter Moylan and Colin McHugh sometimes as well. So that's been fun. So even though it's been a little bit up and down year for the Braves, it's still been an exciting year for me. How's Peter Moylan like podcasting? He loves it. That's his favorite thing to do, man. He's actually really, really good at it too. Yeah, listen. Yeah, we got to, because we had, he does Hosmer's podcast, right? Yeah, digging deep. Yeah, we did. We had Hosmer on. I love talking to guys about podcasting. Nick, I had with Mookie Betts, I had 20 minutes and Mookie all we did was talk podcasting. Oh, yeah. And then with Hosmer, we had him on, and that's all we talked about. I think that guys like to do it. They want to do it. But, there's a lot to it, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever talked to Peter about it. And this is what I wanted to talk about, but, you brought up his name. So there you go. So, but you're good at it. So I'm not quite as good as you guys, but it is enjoyable because it's a little more relaxed too than being on TV.
Yeah. Could you ever wear your Baseballs and Boring shirt on TV? Would they allow you?
No, I cannot do that. I cannot wear a hat. I have to put makeup on to make myself look decent. So there are a lot of different things that go into being on TV.
Did you have to buy makeup?
Yeah, I have to buy makeup. Little powder. It's a little powder. It's nothing crazy.
Did you see? I don't know if because I know you're an avid follower of the socials. I don't know if you saw that I had to spring into action with the makeup.
I saw. Was it a bicycle accident?
No, scooter.
Or scooter accident? Yeah, scooter. That's what it was.
The face of extreme sports. I fell on my face in Colorado, and then I had to do the trade deadline show on Nesson, and so I went to advice from our good friend Jemai Webster. He said, "Go to Nordstrom, and this is the makeup you want." I'm like, okay. And then next thing I know, the lady had me in her chair for a half hour. Oh, thank God that I did. You
guys have a big operation where you get to have somebody do makeup for you.
No,
I have to do it myself.
No, you're missing my point. I went to the mall. I went to Nordstrom.
Oh, the lady at Nordstrom got you for 30 minutes.
No, there was
okay,
nobody.
Yeah.
I was going on with an enormous black eye if it wasn't for the Nordstrom lady. So anyway, let me ask you this. So, you talked about how you really like doing this. This is what you want to do. This is all you want to do. Anytime anybody retires, I think of this. Joey Votto just retired, and I think that he could be in broadcasting, right? I think so. Yeah, right.
I think he could. I mean, I think it's figuring out what you want to do, because a lot of guys have tried to do pre and post and they don't love it. They want to go straight to the game, which obviously the game's a lot more fun because you talk about what you're seeing. But I think there's a stepping stone too, as far as doing pre and post to learn how TV works, and it's not quite as easy as people think. A lot of times you get on camera and you just lock up. And like the one thing that I tell everybody when they ask me about it is, and you know this too, for like a pre and post game show, you have a thought that's 10 seconds long, and you have to be able to expand that to 45 seconds. And how do you do that? What do you talk about? How do you lengthen your sentences? How do you slow it down? How do you decide what you're going to talk about? You know, it's a challenge. And I think there's something to kind of figuring out how this thing works, not just being able to jump in and be great at it. And some people are. And Joey Votto might be great at that too. But a lot of times it takes a lot of time for people to really kind of figure out how to do the job.
Well, you're right, and it goes the other way too, where this is one of the good things about doing a podcast is that we can just talk. There's no time limits. There's no segments really. And with TV, it's either you have that allotted time, whether you have something short to say or you want to expand on it and you can't because there's that amount of time. And everything is timed out. And even like talk radio, Nick, it's like it's a little bit better. It's not like podcasting, but it's a little bit better, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So and also then we talk about doing broadcasts, the TV versus the radio, and that's a whole nother thing too.
Yep.
So
it's different. Anything that you do is going to be different. Like for instance, when I am on with a regular host, then the conversation is different than when I'm hosting and Peter Moylan's on my side. It's more of like a baseball back and forth kind of podcasty thing, but at the same time we have to get all the sponsors in too. That's how we get paid. So there are time limits. You have to try to kind of figure out, how to cut things off when you need to. You can't just whack it right off. Yesterday I was in the middle of my thought and they're like, wrap. And I'm like, okay.
Oh,
so like,
that's a bad
there's
feeling.
So many different things. Yeah. So many different things involved in it. How do you wrap it? How do you spin something? How do you start your sentence? Yesterday, I had it was a first for me. Our host led me to something in a way he hadn't led me before. And I just absolutely butchered it. And I was like, oh, timeout. Let me just start over again. Let me try this again as video's rolling.
That's
it's live TV.
But you know what, Nick? I think people are accepting of that. Like you're so focused on, I can't stumble over my words. I have to have a seamless transition. If you just say, hey, like, let's pause.
Time out. Let's start it over.
People like that, honestly, I think. Did you realize when you were playing, did you realize all of this stuff? Did you have any idea?
No, I had no idea. I mean, the first time I got on the show, I didn't even know it existed. And then I end up staring straight at the camera the entire time. Didn't look at the host at all. That was like the one critique they had with me. I thought it was going to be easy. I literally thought it was going to be easy. I'm like, oh, I can have all this information. I could just talk. And that was not how it worked at all.
How long did it take to get comfortable?
Well, the first 2 years, I think I did like 50, maybe 55 shows, something like that. And then the third year I did like 80 something. So probably after that third year, I started to feel more comfortable because if you fill in, you're jumping in, a couple times a month. Maybe, maybe like 5 times a month, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So
it was a challenge. So every time you messed up, it's like, okay, I've got to wait another week to try to do this again, or I've got to wait another 2 weeks to do it again. So yeah, that can weigh on you in a pretty heavy way because you want to get better. That's the cool part about it. Just like baseball is, you can mess up and then you have a chance to redo it and start over and get better at the next time you talk.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, Nick, too, is I when former players jump in, one of the biggest non-negotiable things is the inability, if people sense that they are not willing to
and I'm not going to say rip a player. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
If they are not willing to be honest about performance, it is over. It is over. Unless you have such cachet and you're like, the guys like Ortiz or A-Rod, whatever, they can say whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
But if for the most part, if you're a former player and you get your shot and then you are not willing to be honest, and that's hard to do, right? Because A, you know how hard it is. B, you have to be around them, so I don't know if that's if you get that sense right away or no.
It is a challenge. I mean, you don't want to have to go face the guys in the clubhouse and then be like, hey, why are you talking about me like that? That's just part of it, though. So what I try to start with from the beginning was thinking to myself, okay, if I say something I feel like is accurate, if they actually looked in the mirror and thought about what I said, then they would agree with me.
Right.
Instead of just absolutely ripping somebody. I think that's, if you take that approach, you'd have no problem. I've had a problem with anybody in 10 years. Really? And sometimes you have to say stuff. It's just, how do you say it and what do you say? Because if you go out there and just rip them to shreds, of course they're going to get frustrated with you. But if you could just say it delicately or get your point across without, just making it look like you have something out for those guys, it definitely helps too. So it's a challenge, no doubt about that, but you have to be honest with it. And I think the guys in the clubhouse are honest with themselves for the most part. And if you say something that's true, then how can they deny that? If you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, oh yeah, he's right. He's got a point. I've got to be better. I can't do that. It's something that you have to learn.
You would like to think that, but you also
now we're lucky though, because we have a lot of good guys in the clubhouse too.
Yeah.
There's some tough ones in those clubhouses.
well, going back to when you played, it was, and this is another dynamic, and I don't know how much I've doing the pregame show on Nesson. Like I can count one time I've had to, like, anyone like confronted me, or even that was passive aggressive. That was Hanley Ramirez. Where I was like, you should be able to make that catch if you're a major leaguer. It's like, oh, you think I should be able to make that? And then he laughs it off, whatever. But there is that. All it takes is sitting around, watching TV, passing time, and somebody says something. When you played, that was the case. It was whatever was on TV in the clubhouse. Now it's you've seen the clubhouse. Everyone's like just sitting at their locker, looking at their phone. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I don't know what they look at. I'm assuming they see us. I think they probably how can they avoid it, really? So they're going to see clips from what we say. They're going to see us on TV. I know they have us on for the pregame show in the clubhouse. Now, how many people are actually watching it and not getting ready for the game? Probably pitchers, some position players that aren't starting. But yeah, I know they see us for sure. I don't know how much they listen. But they definitely see us on TV. I know that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think that's the approach that you're taking is the right one. I think at the end of the day, if you're convicted in what you're saying, then hey, if someone comes up, say, hey, listen, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And conversely, if and you've heard enough sports talk radio, it's not like that, right?
I actually had to stop listening to sports talk radio.
Really? Yeah,
because for us, like, we're so invested in the team. In sports talk radio, typically, especially locally, they have all these other sports they're dealing with. They don't see the game. They don't see the same thing we see, and they're just talking just to talk. Mm-hmm. And so I get nothing out of it besides the fact that I know that most of them don't watch the games like we watch it.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me.
No, it's a real thing about the sports talk radio is there. I've always said this, Nick, like, even when, like when I was covering you and, that group, and I'm at WEI in Boston, and, people were giving these like broad specific takes, and I would have guys like come up to me and he's like, dude, like, what is going on? Like, and the way I explained it was the program director is never going to walk down and say, hey, you got that fact wrong. You got that ERA wrong. You got that wrong. all they're going to worry about were you entertaining and engaging. That's all it is.
That's all it is. Yep.
That's all it is.
You're
right.
You're right.
So, but we like to be accurate and entertaining and engaging, all the above, which you are. Appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about your Atlanta Braves. I enjoy going on the station down in Atlanta. They're an Odyssey station. They call me every once in a while. So as soon as they call me, say, can you come on? I immediately take a deep dive into the Braves and make sure I know what I'm talking about. And it's funny because every time I was on, and I told them this the last time I was on, every time I was on, I'd be like, why do you guys think the sky is falling? Like, you still have a really talented, good team. Like, it was sort of bizarre to me, the way they were talking. And then you sort of like, oh, well, it's trending the wrong way. But still, at the heart of it, especially leading up to trade deadline, Nick, I was like, oh, you have a good team. I know that you had a lot of injuries. You have a good team. And you have a GM who's going to probably make a move that's going to help you. Like, what are you complaining about? But then it kind of sort of got a little bit worse, got a little bit worse, got a little bit worse. And now you're sitting there, you're right on the edge of making the playoffs. So I can't really be that optimistic. Yeah. I still don't think it's as bad as probably everybody in Atlanta thinks it is. You tell me how you feel.
I mean, I know why they think that way, because the bar set so high. When the bar set that high, the expectations are through the roof. And they tied the major league record in home runs last year, were like 307. Yeah. So they actually came into the season expecting guys to do the exact same thing that they did last year. That's just not feasible. You look at Ronald Acuna Jr. and his massive season, that probably was not going to happen again this year. Austin Riley, he might take a step back. He might not. Jared Kelenic, we didn't know what we were going to get out of him. Matt Olson's probably going to take a step back after his monster year last year. So there were so many different factors as far as how this team was going to succeed. Now, they've had so many injuries, and that's been a challenge for sure. But Alex did a great job of picking up this pitching staff in the offseason. You got Chris Sale, who's been fantastic, probably a Cy Young winner. Reynaldo Lopez has been unbelievable. We didn't even know if he could actually start and continue to stay in that starting rotation. Max Fried's been hurt a little bit, but he's been really good for the most part. Spencer Strider ends up getting hurt, so everybody's like, oh, God, our number one starter's down. So there are so many different things that happen during the course of the season. But then you have a guy like Spencer Strellenbach come up, and he's been unbelievable. He's been one of the best pitchers that we've had. So they filled gaps in different ways. If the pitching wasn't as good as it is, they definitely wouldn't be in the spot they are. The offense, I think there's still some question marks in there, but you have big league hitters in that lineup, especially so you think about Ramon Laureano, who came over. He's kind of a cast-off in Cleveland, wasn't playing well, but he's hitting great. He's hit, I think, around 290 since he's been with the Braves, like 6 home runs. He's been phenomenal. Now he had a couple of mishaps in the field, but his at-bats have been really good, so he's a professional at-bat. What Merrifield has come over, he's been a professional at-bat. So he filled holes in different ways. And you know how it works, too. Sometimes you don't have a team full of superstars, but you have a team full of guys giving you quality at-bats. Yeah. And if they can do that, then you have a chance. Now, again, going back to the reason that the sky's falling is because those guys aren't Ozzie Albies. They're not Ronald Acuna Jr. They're not Austin Riley. And they're not going to be. But it doesn't mean you can't win. And so when I write down my lineup every single day, I say, especially since they got Laureano and Witt, I feel like this is still a big league team. And you still have some star power in that lineup. So I don't know why people can't be a little bit more optimistic with this team. And the pitching has been ridiculous. So you know how it works. You have good pitching, you have a shot.
Yeah. And so what they basically went from was an embarrassment of riches to just riches. When honestly, it's when you looked at the Braves lineup last year or coming in this year, you're like, oh my goodness, like this is insane, like how good this is 1-9. And now it's not as good, but it's still good. I mean, this is the thing. It's still good, and you know,
I think they're fourth in home runs in Major League Baseball.
And also go look at what they've done this month. They're still good, and then you go to the pitching aspect of it, and holy crap, like Chris Sale. What a year. It really is. Yeah.
and I've said this to the guys on the radio a bunch of times too, is that for me, I talked to Chris in spring training. He came on the podcast in spring training. And the thing that he said that always stuck with me, which he understood, he had lost benefit of the doubt. When you only pitch whatever 20-something games over the 4 years, you lose benefit of the doubt. But he did say something that stuck, which is this was the first time that he ended a season healthy, that he had an entire offseason healthy, that he had an entire spring training healthy, heading into the season healthy since 2017. Like all of that. There was no hiccups at all. And so that made a lot of sense to me. And obviously that's what's happened. And then, like you said, with Lopez. So my overall point is, Nick, like in this day and age of baseball, there are, I think I counted 14 teams that could legitimately say they could win the World Series right now. Like legit. The Braves are one of them. But I think the teams that are going to separate themselves, if we go by the model of the Diamondbacks and the Rangers and these Phillies, do you have the group of starting pitchers that you can get on the back of in the postseason? Do you have Gallen? Do you have Kelly? Do you have Ott? Do you have the Phillies guys? Do you have Montgomery? Do you have Evaldi? Do you have those guys? And I do think if things break right for the Braves, they do, right?
Yeah, they definitely do. When you think about Chris Sale staying healthy, they've done a great job of keeping him healthy. They've done a great job of keeping Ronaldo healthy, although he had a 3-week stint on the IL recently. His first start the other day was great.
But you know what? That might not be a bad thing.
It's a great thing because he needed a rest.
Yeah.
He had thrown way too many innings for what he's used to throwing. So that rest was great for him. Spencer Schwellenbach, you see how he does down the stretch because he hasn't been or he hasn't pitched as much as he has this year at all. But you look at those three guys, to me, you get those three guys plus Max Fried, that's four. You have four legit starters. Like four legit. How do you even decide who to start? And so I feel really good about that. And the fact is, these guys have gone deep into ball games for the most part. Sale will give you 6 to 7 every time out. Max will give you 6 to 7 every time out. Schwellenbach, same thing. Reynaldo, probably around 6 for the most part with him. But they're giving you length. And those guys can shut any lineup down. And we saw it the other day in game 1 of the Philly series with the Braves. It took, they manufactured a run off of him. And then you end up having a home run by Marcell Ozuna. So you score 2 off of Zach Wheeler. And then they end up shutting it down. And so they won 3-1. So you can win those ball games if you have good pitching because our offense is strong enough that they can get you. You make a mistake, they can get you and put a couple runs on the board.
Well, and a name that you haven't brought up is friend of the program, Charlie Morton.
I know. He's been good, though. He's been good, but he's probably that number 5 guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, but still, when he's good, right? I mean, sort of.
Yeah, he runs into
right?
trouble. Well, yeah, and he runs into trouble a little bit with hit by pitches. He'll have an inning where he just can't find his command. But he's been great. But the other guys, I think, are probably in front of him as far as that rotation is concerned.
That's the point. Is that not only, and I think I looked it up in the last 11. They're 7-4, so they're playing better. And it's just like the Phillies. The Phillies, to me, they probably went through their rough patch, and now they're going to be good, right?
Yep.
I kind of feel like the same way with the Braves. I love this. I love this race. I love the National League. The American League stinks. I'm just kidding. But the National League is like, forget about the Central. But you have this race in the NL East, with and I know it's not a race. I'm just talking about making the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Mets, the Phillies, the Braves. And then, I love the NL West. I love that dynamic.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants are on. They're kind of still in it too. I mean, but
they won't be there.
No, but I know
they won't be there.
I'm just trying to be.
But Arizona, San Diego, and LA.
So that's what. So I picked. We had Hazen on, and I did this not only because he was on, but I actually meant it. I felt the best about the Diamondbacks of any team. And here's the reason why, because of what we're talking about. about the starting pitching is that
Mhm.
that you have Gallen, you have Kelly, the two holdovers.
Yeah.
Eduardo Rodriguez has come back and pitched well. And I think that the possibility of Jordan Montgomery rediscovering himself just in time. Now, I say that, and I think he gave up like 10 hits last night. So, but still, my point is if you can get him on a run, then you're on your way. So, anyway. And then San Diego, same thing. San Diego
they're good.
I love it. I love it all.
But you think about two, good starting pitching is hard to hit no matter who's in your lineup, right? You can have a roster full of great superstars and they might get shut down by a good starter. That just happens. But like, for instance, the Braves have enough in their lineup to do something to score runs. And all it might take is 1 or 2 runs. You look at did you see the Blake Snell, Chris Sale matchup?
Yeah.
The game 1 in San Fran? That was unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable game. And they end up winning, I think, 1-0 in that game. But that's all it takes sometimes. You have to match starting pitching with starting pitching.
All right, let's stay with Chris Sale because he is one of the best stories of baseball this year. It really is incredible. Like this comeback, and we can just say, "Oh, there's the old Chris Sale." Nick, it had been 5 years. Well, 2000. I mean, really, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah, 5 years. And what is the thing when you watch him? Well, first of all, did you see this coming? I saw it coming because I'm a genius. But did you see it coming? If we're watching whatever you watch in spring training and early in the year. And also, what is the thing that surprised you about Chris Sale this year?
I did not see it coming. I was just like everybody else, though. Can he stay healthy? I think that was the biggest question mark. I thought he would be good. I was looking, more of like a 3.5 ERA somewhere in there.
Did you think that was a good trade?
I did think it was a good trade because the Braves needed some depth in the rotation.
Okay.
So, and then Vaughn had nowhere to play. So yeah, I thought it was a good trade. I thought it was a clever trade because I don't think anybody expected it. And then they go and extend him too on top of it. So Alex clearly saw something that a lot of people didn't see. But yeah, I've been impressed by the fact that he has maintained velocity. His slider's really, really, really good. But the biggest thing is his changeup. I didn't know he had a good changeup, and I think that's been the difference maker for him. Sometimes he lives off the slider, and that's just how it is. But I was looking at a video from the Pitching Ninja. I don't know if you saw it or not, showing how he throws a changeup. And somebody had taught him, instead of pronating or whatever it's called here, and it goes down and away, to come across. And it's just made his changeup that much better. So you look at the data from his changeup and the numbers on his changeup, and it's gotten 10 million times better this year. And that, to me, has been an equalizer for him against righties as well. And if the slider's on, it doesn't matter. You can go fastball, slider, but that changeup has been huge for him.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, we've reached a point, and obviously everyone is holding their breath to get to the finish line, but there really hasn't, and you're watching him closer than I am, but there really hasn't been any signs that he's slowing down, right?
No, he had the one bad game against Oakland, which was weird. He gave up like 8 runs, and we haven't really seen that happen again. It just seems like he gets into that competition mode where it's like, you're not going to beat me, even if I don't have my best stuff. And he still gives you a chance to win. Every single time out, gives you a chance to win. I can't remember the numbers, but he's been like 2 earned runs or less in maybe 20 of 23 or something like that. Yeah. You have to go back and look at it. It's something crazy. And I think it's 11 straight where he's given up 2 earned runs or less. So I don't think he's slowing down at all.
Okay, so I'm not going to take the Braves aside. What team do you say that's the team that I think is going to get on the run?
It's going to get on a run?
Well, that's the team that's going to emerge after all of a sudden and done, otherwise known as, make it to the World Series.
I like San Diego.
Yeah.
I think they have a chance to do something special. I really do. I like the Diamondbacks are hitting their stride at the right time too. I look at the wild card race because we look at it every day, and I think it's a 14 race. I don't know if the Mets are going to be able to hold off the Braves in that 3rd spot, but the Diamondbacks and Padres they're on a roll. and they've been playing good baseball. But if I were to pick a team, I'd say San Diego.
Yeah. And not only because Luis Ariz carries around a baseballs and boring sticker in his back pocket. Fact.
There you go. And my boy Dylan Cease threw the no.
Oh, he's a member of the family.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Your guy, right?
Yep.
You know what?
I coached him in high school.
I know. Coincidence? I don't think so. And honestly, he came on the podcast.
You were having him on right after you had me on the last time, I think.
Well, that was the other. That was in the off season.
It was towards the beginning or somewhere. I can't remember because we had talked about it.
I don't know, but we had Oh yeah, that's right. We had him on, but I had him on again, and this was I guess it was before the All-Star break, and we had. I think at the time that you're talking about, we had proclaimed he's still with the White Sox. They said no matter what league you're in, you're gonna be the Cy Young. And so when we caught up with him, I said, "Hey, we're not backing down. You're gonna be the Cy Young." And at that point, he had a 4 ERA. But ever since that appearance, he's been like lights out again. Great things happen to people who come on this podcast. So just brace yourself.
That's why I agreed to come on today.
I know. You're going to have the best last month of the regular season of any broadcaster. But the Padres. Somebody said about the Padres. And by the way, AJ Preller, good job. Good job, man. Good job. Like Arise, Cease, and then the relievers at the deadline, like all of it, right?
Yep.
But also Mike Schilt, good job. Because you talk to people and said, no, like they play different. They play different. They play hard, man. So good for them.
The manager has, I know a lot of people think managers don't do a whole lot because a lot of this data comes out from the top and they just have to kind of be the yes man and do what they have to do to keep their jobs. But a manager's demeanor and attitude every single day creates a great playing environment. And Brian Sticker, we talk about it all the time with him. His demeanor is the same all the time. So that clubhouse feels really good about their chances of winning every single day. Mike Schilt is one of those guys that is an old school manager who gets it. And you want to play for him. You want to run through a wall for him because you know he has your back. So those managers, man, I can't say enough about how important they are to the success of a team and the camaraderie of a team and the confidence a team has it within themselves and within that clubhouse.
So, speaking of which, I want to go back to 2009. Is that when you played for the Red Sox?
Yep.
Yeah. 2009. Terry Francona was a manager. Right?
Yep.
How was he unique?
He's great. He was actually, I think about the best managers I had, and it was him and Bobby Cox. And I can't say one was better than the other because they were both fantastic. But you went into the clubhouse and it was loose and it was free. And Terry was playing with cards with Pedroia and those guys. And anytime you talked to him, he was willing to talk to you. It wasn't like you were scared to go talk to the manager. Anytime you were struggling, he was a guy that had your back, would pat you on the back. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I've been through this. I get it. It's challenging, but I know you can do it. And anytime you have a manager, or at least in my experience, that knows that has your back and they believe in you, then you're going to play better. And that creates a winning environment too. Obviously, you have to have talent on the field as well, but those managers typically get the most out of players, and that's how Tito was. It was fun to go to the yard every day to play for that team and play for him. And I said it with Bobby Cox too, when we were the 2004, my rookie year. We were struggling at the All-Star break, and we had a team meeting, and everybody in that clubhouse wanted to win for Bobby. And it's the same feeling with a guy like Terry Francona. You want to win for those guys, and you feel disappointed if you can't win for those guys. So I love both those managers.
Let me ask you, I know that I had reached out to you for Paul Bird's number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason is because Rich Hill is trying to do the same thing. Paul Bird did in 2009. I mean, you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, and do you remember the game when he pitched when he came back? I mean, he was off the high school field, right?
I don't remember the exact story as far as him coming back because I played with him in 2004 too, and all of a sudden he shows back up in the big leagues with us.
Yeah, well, he one sec. He came back his first pit. He had worked out with the high school team. They needed a starter. His first start was at the very end of August. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs. That's it.
I did not remember that start.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I keep telling Rich this. I keep telling Rich this. I'm like, hey, it can be done. It can be done.
If the Birdman can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. Well, listen. I mean, I think that Rich tries to more come in with the hat backwards and the skateboard slung over his back. Hey, fellow kids. Where Bird was like, I'm going to go with the high stirrups, and everyone's just going to know how old I am. So
I used to laugh at him too because he would step back behind the rubber for curveballs, so he had a little more room to break, and then step in front for fastballs.
Really,
it was so funny. He was amazing.
Yeah, it was a good run. It was a good run. I think he made the postseason roster that year too. So
I can't remember. I was on the shelf with a bad back.
Oh,
so
yeah, I remember that. You had a good run, though. You were a good shortstop.
I actually wish I would have learned how to play shortstop earlier in my career. I learned how to play shortstop my last year in the big leagues with Perry Hill.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You were because they had a hole there, and you filled in good.
Yep. Oh, you know what? You know what? I looked this up the other day because I felt like I was a player that needed about 150 to 180 at bats, and every time they tried to give me 300, it just didn't work out. And I looked at the 3 seasons that I had 200 plate appearances at the beginning of the year. In all 3 of those, I hit like 270, 273.
Yeah.
And then once you got me past that 200 plate appearance mark, I was done.
Oh, really?
It was a wrap.
Well, listen, I'm focusing on the positives. So
yeah, that's what I was focusing on too. I forget about those last however many plate appearances there were.
All I know is that you were good when I saw you. All right. And once again, you were good here. I appreciate your time as always. Again, brace yourself for the best month of your life.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. And I will look forward to it.